Hey everybody, it took me a few minutes to get here because we had a little mishap with our kitty cats. They're both neutered now, but the fighting has not stopped. The spraying has stopped. The fighting has not stopped. And we're not really sure what to do about it. It's getting to the point where we may have to rehome a couple of them. Which ones, I don't know. I mean, we're thinking Neo because Neo is always the one that tries to referee, thinks he's got to get in the middle of everything. Sometimes he starts it, but this time it was between Bo and Maverick. And then Maverick had a bunch of fur in his mouth, and Matthew went to move the fur out of his mouth and got bit. So we promptly put tea tree oil and neosporin on his bite and put a band-aid on it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I've never run into this before, but these cats are they are from a whole different breed of cats. These cats were pretty much, you may as well say, almost feral cats. Because the lady that owns the group of cats that these cats came from, um, the mother cat, I think, was a pet. The other cat, I don't think is. I think he's a wild feral male. So there's some of that in them, that they always want to be fighting and competing, and it's not good. I'm going to be eating some apple here, by the way, in case you wonder. Apple and peanut butter. And drinking some tea. My little evening snack. Yeah, so I'm really at a loss to know what to do at this point about that. But I'm not here for that, to talk about the cat. I'm here to basically share the origins of this channel because I don't know if my original videos where I talked about that are on here. They might still be, but who knows where they are at this point. There's so many videos that I've done over the years. So I don't honestly know the location of them if they are on here. So let's begin at the beginning. Okay, back in the day, I would have to say around 2008 to 2011, maybe, or 12. We'll say 12. 2008 to 2012, okay? And even before that, probably 1999. We'll go with that because I think it was 98 or 99. And then Amber was born in 99. She was my last baby to be born. I met a lady. I call her Dove. I always try to hide their names because I know that at times they're probably watching me and I don't need any hassle from the powers that be.
Pumpkin spice?
Yeah. So we'll go all the way back then. Back in the day on a place called Pale Talk, not PayPal. I always goof up and say PayPal, but Pale Talk. There was this lady named Dove, and she was preaching basically in a chat room. This was back before we had cameras in chat rooms or the ability to go on camera, like you see me here, camera. It was just one big white screen, and you could chat into the screen, across the screen like that. Anyway, she was preaching, and I don't remember what her exact message was, honestly, but I remember her talking about how her daughter left her and how sad her daughter didn't leave her. Her ex-husband took her daughter. The daughter went to live with the ex-husband. And she was just kind of like going on about it, saying how sad she was and how devastated and how her life felt like it was ending. And I basically chimed in, lovely person that I am, very tactlessly, and said basically, she just needs to cling to Jesus and get over it. Pretty much something along those lines. Well, those of you that know me, especially the past me, can probably picture me saying something like that. Meanwhile, her friend chimed in and private messaged me, because you could do that over on Pale Talk. I think you still can. And so outside of the room, I get this private message. You don't really understand Dove's situation. So for you to come in here and say that was like really insensitive. She's a very strong woman of God. She's she hears from God directly, and she just is devastated because her daughter's gone. And, you would feel the same way if you lost your daughter, something like that. And I'm sure I said some witty faith thing like, oh no, I'm an overcomer and I live by faith, not by sight. Some, cliche sort of Bible term I would have spouted off back in the day. Um, and I think she just kind of kept, being gentle with me, but kind of corrective. And then she finally said, "Look, I'm going to have Dove contact you directly and she'll explain her situation." And I'm like, "I don't know what good it'll do, but okay, you can have her contact me. That's fine." So the room continued and Dove continued preaching. And then I finally got this private message from Dove. "Oh, hey, this is Dove. And I heard that you were in my chat room and I'm really glad to have you. Welcome." Very kind, very welcoming, very friendly, no animosity whatsoever towards me. She said, "I just want to talk to you a little bit and kind of explain my situation. Because I understand that you don't exactly understand what's going on. You came in the middle of it. I don't think you really understand." I said, "Okay, that's fine." So she proceeded in explaining to me that she had been married for like many years and her daughter decided that she didn't, I guess, want to obey the rules of Dove, her mom. So she went and lived with her dad. Very similar to my later situation years later. Be careful who you judge because it may come back on you one day and then you'll remember, "Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember somebody else was in this situation. I didn't show a whole lot of compassion." Yeah. Anyway, I do digress. So as time went on, Dove and I kind of clicked. We just kind of got along. I don't know exactly how it was. I was kind of like her sidekick. She was like the pastor in a sense, and I was her armor bearer. That's what we call it, the armor bearer position, which meant kind of when she was getting discouraged, it was my job to kind of encourage her. And this whole scenario will play through later as I meet the next person in this story. Anyway, time went on and Dove and I got very close and she literally would like refer to me as her pastor. In fact, my name was Pastor Laura to her. That is how she introduced me. That was my name actually on Pale Talk back then, Pastor Laura, or Pastor LB. That was the other name I went by. And she would open up chat rooms and then I would eventually become her partner. I would preach, she would preach. We'd kind of tag team preach. And I also played keyboard. So I would often lead people in worship right there in the chat room. All they could do was hear me, they couldn't see me. But yeah, I would do that. And we got very, very close. And we were close for quite some time, almost 3 years actually. And one day we were talking and we decided that we should meet. So I took Amber and Randy, my two daughters, my youngest daughters, to Texas. Hopped on a plane. Yeah, probably not the most brilliant thing to do, but we felt like we were friends. We had been talking for a long time. And back then, I threw caution to the wind a lot in my younger days. So, and yes, I was a married woman, but I wasn't the most mature of human beings back then either. So I got on this plane and I flew to Terrell, Texas. That's where she lived. And she met me there and her husband was there and they let me have her van the whole time I was there. I think it was there for like, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks. I think about 2 weeks. And he said, "You're welcome to drive my van anywhere you want. The rules of the road are pretty much the same in Texas as anywhere else. Just be careful. Don't wreck my car." And I'm thinking, wow, this is wild. This guy doesn't even know me. I'm a perfect stranger other than what he's heard from, Dove on the internet and stuff. But he's letting me use his van, so cool, whatever. And I did. I'm sure I drove it around and went places and took her places and went shopping with them and whatever. So everything seemed fine. Amber got along really well with her son, and her other son had Down syndrome. And she would often let him get on the microphone and preach and stuff. And that was cute. But we got closer and closer and kept on ministering together online. Even while I was at her house, we would sit on the computer and preach together and I would sing and whatever she would sing. So at one point, now don't take this anywhere. It doesn't need to go, please. But anyhow, she was laying in her bed and it was freezing cold in their house. Now I know it was Texas, but it was cold for some reason. I guess it was the air conditioning. I can't remember. Over time, I would learn that she had something called, what is it called? Something generalized dystonia. It's a big, long paroxysmal kinesiogenic generalized dystonia, I think is what it was. And her arms would like twist like this, like people that have like a palsy type thing. Her neck would twist around. I later learned that's called torticollis, and sometimes you get that with certain drugs you take, like medicines and things. But she had this dystonia problem, which made her speech kind of get distorted. I know somebody else in the family has problems with this sort of thing where it distorts their speech, but her whole body would twist. Like her feet would literally like twist like this, and her toes would curl under, and it was very painful to see, and not even partly as painful as what she experienced. She was on heavy, heavy narcotics, especially when this would happen. Her husband literally would like shove these pills in her mouth as she's going through these almost like a seizure type thing. Um, Now, of course, online, I never knew what that was. I had never seen it. But when I went to Texas, I definitely saw it. My daughter saw it, and it was pretty horrifying, I have to say. So my heart really broke for her. And that just kind of makes you want to be, more caring and be the caretaker of somebody. So I kind of set myself up, I guess, in a way to be her caretaker and just to make sure nobody messed with her online, kind of like a bodyguard position. And she would come to me and say, "Hey, teach me this scripture in the Bible. You're my pastor. I look up to you. I don't trust, pastors in churches. You're my pastor." So I would preach to her and I'd teach her stuff and we would share the Bible verses and things. And we had a nice relationship. Okay. So anyway, I'm trying to think. There's a name I use for the other person that I always talk about, and I don't want to give her real name. So let's see what I can call her. I think I'll call her Mercy. Okay, Mercy. Not to be confused with my brother's wife, Mercy. Not that Mercy. This is a different Mercy. Let me get a pen here and write this down so I don't ever forget what I named her for future reference when I'm talking about her. If I can find a pen, not a fork. Pen. I cannot find a pen. Okay, I'll check my purse. Okay, to be continued here. So, there we go. I love this little pen. I write with it all the time, and I hope I never, ever lose it. So, we will write down Mercy and what that name actually stands for. Okay. Anyway, so all seemed well in Texas with Dove until like certain things would happen that just kind of made me, they say things that make you go, ooh, or ah, or whatever it is. Yeah, there were some things that definitely made me do that. So we were watching the movie Signs. Some of you might have seen that movie. It's about aliens invading and they try to get into this house and stuff. And it's a little bit kind of hard to watch if you don't like that kind of slasher, gory. It's not even a slasher film. More like it's a sci-fi movie. I wouldn't even say it's horror. It could be probably in the horror genre. Anyway, Dove was one who thought everything was a demon. Everything had demons and everything was a demon. So when she saw the aliens attacking, she would say, "Back up, you filthy spirit. Jesus rebuke you." And she'd like be being rebuking the movie. Like we'd be sitting on the couch and her husband would look at me and I'd look at her and he'd be like, "Just humor her. Just humor her. Don't say anything." So I didn't. I mean, I didn't want to offend her. She really believed there were demons in her television set or her movie or whatever. So she would rebuke the demons off of the alien and make the aliens leave people alone or something. So I was like, okay, well, alrighty then. I just kind of chalked that up to, well, this is just how it is here. And we just kind of humor her because she's in so much pain. Let her have her fantasies of whatever. Who cares? It's not hurting me any, Okay, so the next thing that happened was we went to her son's sports game. I think it was soccer, if I'm not mistaken. And in the middle of the game, she would get up and start screaming and telling all of the players where to go. You move over there. No, you go over to that place and you go out to this field, or I don't even know what soccer rules are or whatever, but she would like direct the game, like right out loud, really loud. And the coach would be trying to coach the kids, but here was Dove playing coach. And I was like, oh, wow. All righty. Again, I was thinking, maybe it's because she's got all these illnesses and stuff. Nobody says anything to her. They just kind of let her loose to do whatever she's going to do. I didn't say anything. I was just kind of observing everything going, okay, then. I've never seen anything like this. I think they call them sideline coaches or something like that, where the parents get so into the game, they think they have to coach the coach or coach the team. Yeah, that was Dove. Well, then her niece came over and she's like, I don't know, we'll call her Mary because I don't remember her name anyways. Mary, come here. This is Laura. This is my friend Laura. Show her how you do a cartwheel. She's like, no, Aunt Dove, I don't want to do that. She's like, no, it's okay. It's okay. Hey, I'll do it with you. Now there's this grown woman in the middle of a whole field of people doing cartwheels and urging her niece to do cartwheels. And she was terribly, terribly embarrassed. And you could see it all over the poor kid's face. She didn't want to do it. She did it because Aunt Dove said to. And when Aunt Dove wants you to do something, I guess you just do it because you feel sorry for her. So she did. Anyway, there was a lot of things like that. And I remember when I first got there, before I even saw her, episodes where she would contort and stuff like that. Come here, Madman. Come here, buddy. It's okay. We're not mad at you. But you gotta be careful with Daddy. You hurt Daddy. I know you didn't intentionally do it. Anyway, he's probably trying to make peace with you. This guy. She was laying in the bed under the covers, and we were both really cold, and she's talking to me about the Bible or something. And she's like, come here, come sit by me. So I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, just come sit by me on the side of the bed. She's like, here, put the cover over you. It's cold in here. I wasn't thinking anything of it. I had clothes on, she had clothes on. So I just put the cover over. I didn't like cuddle with her or anything. Not that I remembered anyway. We're just sitting there. We were like bestie friends. And I used to actually, like I said, don't take this anywhere. It doesn't need to go because I know inevitably somebody's going to take this and do something stupid with it. When I had cousins, we often would sleep on mattresses together or share the bed or whatever. They'd curl up on their side. I'd curl up on my side. That sort of thing. Nothing more, just sleeping because that's how it was back when I grew up. We just kind of did that. We were cousins and it wasn't anything. It was back in an era where that wasn't even thought of, that somebody would take that in a bad direction. So anyway, I didn't think anything of it. I put the cover over me and we were just talking and giggling and whatever, Later on, she would use that against me and say things about me, making some kind of, insinuations against me, which weren't true. All right. Anyhow. So I was there for like a couple weeks, like I said, and then I went home eventually and I got online and I asked somebody, I can't remember who it was. I said, you really need to pray for Dove because I'm telling you what's going on with her is not all that it seems. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, well, she's got some kind of controlling spirit where she feels a need to direct everybody and control everybody and micromanage everybody. So, just pray for her. Well, instead of praying for her, they ran back to her with what I said. I get a call from her husband. Laura, how could you do this? She's your best friend in the whole wide world. I would never do this to my best friend. How could you? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I heard how you went to people and said all this mean stuff about her. I said, no, I went to somebody to pray for her because I saw things that were concerning. She's supposed to be leaning on the Lord, not trying to control everybody. Well, obviously he's going to take his wife's side. So I was the odd man out and I was literally out. She ended things with me at that point. That was it. there were other things that happened, like we were on Yahoo one time and I was typing to her and private messages were showing up in the main chat room where she was trying to preach to all these Muslim people. And she thought I was purposely putting private messages in front of everybody to get her harmed by the Muslim people. So she got mad at me. And then she realized after talking to the guy that owned Yahoo that very often there was a glitch in the system where when you typed a private message, it would show up in the chat room. So she came back to me, called me up on the phone, just in tears. I don't blame you if you never forgive me. I'm so sorry, though. I didn't know. I didn't know. You know, she didn't realize that that's just a glitch that sometimes happens. So she felt bad about it. That was good. That was before she split with me. Anyway, we ended our friendship. I was devastated. That was back in an era where I felt I had to have that one other person to be my all in all, my best friend, my confidant, my sister, you know. Um, I'm no longer like that. That's why I sometimes seem like I push people away and I'm like, don't cling to me, please. I cannot handle that because I've been on both sides of it. I've been the clinger and I've been the clingy, and neither one is healthy. Anyhow, in enters several people actually. We were all kind of in this Bible study together when the whole thing started. It was Dove, it was this other lady, and then it was Marcy, and there were a couple other people too. We would just, share the Bible and I would sing, and other people would get on the microphone and sing or share testimonies, kind of like a little mini church service. So over time, I kind of hooked up with Marcy a little bit, as a friend, and we would hang out and do impersonations, voice impersonations, Mickey Mouse and Disney characters and whatever, TV characters, I'm sure, all into the wee hours of the night, like 4 o'clock in the morning, whatever. My kids would be like, Mom, you coming to bed? You should go to bed, Mom. You're going to be tired in the morning. And I didn't. I just kept on going. And basically, I kind of neglected my family. I'm not proud of that. That was a very bad time in my life where I neglected everybody for the sake of online internet relationships, which is why I'm very much against that whole thing now. And you've heard me say stuff like, this is not your real life. Get involved in things in reality so you're not always looking here for your external source of encouragement or esteem, whatever. Anyhow, so I was back then looking for that external source of esteem, and I was just shattered when Dove left my life. And I had other friends online and stuff, but they weren't Dove, so it didn't matter. Dove was everything to me. So anyhow, I had this other acquaintance. She wasn't really a friend at that point, and she came along one day and came to me and said, "Hey, Marcy really kind of wants to take you under her wing," and just ignore that squeaking in the background. That would be my husband on his rocking chair. He thinks he has to make noise. Anyway, said to me, so Marcy wants to take you under her wing, kind of help you through this sad time in your life and, minister to you and that sort of thing. And I thought, that's kind of odd. I mean, the only relationship I have with Marcy is just doing impersonations. We don't have that kind of, there's no spiritual connection. She's like, oh yeah, well, she said that, she feels kind of motherly towards you and wants to take you under her wing. And I'm like, okay, so why didn't she come and tell me that? She goes, I don't know. She just said something to me. She doesn't even know I told you, but like, you can go and tell her I told you and just ask her. I'm like, okay, fine. I kind of brushed it off for a little while. And then one day I thought, you know what? I'm going to go talk to her about it. So I texted her and I told her, so-and-so said to me that you wanted to kind of take me under your wing and help me through this and minister to me. She's like, she did? I said, yeah. She's like, well, yeah, that is true, Laura. I've always kind of felt motherly towards you. I'm the mother of the group. I'm the mother hen. I said, mother of the group? No, so-and-so has always been more like the mother, this lady that came to me and told me about Marcy. She's like, no, just look back and think of how all you girls, when you had this problem or that problem, that I was there for you. That's why I hate when people on here will say the girls, when they refer to grown women as the girls. That's probably why that triggers me so bad, because that's what Marcy would always call us, the girls. the girls told me, or the girls were having problems, and I would step in, and I was the motherly force there. I'm like, okay, I guess if you say so. She's like, well, I do want to help you, but only if you agree. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I'll have to think about it. She's like, okay, you think about it and get back to me. Okay, girly? I'm like, all right. She's like, just take your time, but I'm not going to force you, but I'm here for you as soon as you decide and as soon as you see, what needs to happen. Hold on a second, y'all.